Hi, everybody. Ellie McGuire here with the Shaking the Bushes podcast. My next guest, I went to elementary school with him. Can you believe it? And then 56 years later, we meet each other in a coffee shop, and I find out that we share a humongous secret together. You're going to want to watch this, really. Stephen McGuinness.
Mary Ellen McGuire.
We sound like a law firm. You are sitting here at my kitchen table in my childhood home, and that's where we met, in childhood.
We did.
We went to St. Peter's School. I think you started in 1959. I started in 1960. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And if my math serves me well, which the nuns did not serve me well when it came to math, that is 66 years ago. How can that be? We're only 39.
Oh, my God. Not that we're getting older, but I woke up with the epiphany the other morning that girls that are 50 are now old enough to be my daughters. and for the first time in my lifetime, the Pope is younger than me.
Well, that wraps it up. I guess we can go. But can you believe it? 66 years ago we met through your sweet sister, Jeannie.
Yep.
And Jeannie was in class with me. And then she introduced me to you. And then I never saw you again until 10 years ago.
Yep.
And do you remember where we met?
In the Bagel Express, the little coffee shop. No, the other coffee shop.
I think it was Little Falls Cafe in the little town that we live near. For those of you who are listening in Australia, it's a little. We live in a historic town, and we met at this. It was a bagel shop anyway then.
Yep.
And you came over and we started talking.
Yeah, you were jogging and you came in for one fried egg.
Yeah, I do one fried egg. Can't believe you remember that 10 years ago. Nobody says your mind is anywhere near gone. But so we met and we started talking, and one thing led to another. And then he says, my name is Steve McGuinness. And, you know, when you live in a small town or you grew up in a small town, you think to yourself, I know a McGuinness. Jeannie McGuinness. I remember saying that.
Yep.
And you said she was my sister, correct? And then I said, but wait a minute. I stopped for a minute. And for those of you who are listening and not watching us on YouTube, Steve is 6'4", correct? 6'4"?
Yeah, shrinking a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe 6'3.5" now.
Oh, 6'3".
I'm compressing.
Those halves matter.
I'm compressing at the spine.
Okay. But anyway, he's 6'4", and Jeannie's like, what, 5 feet if she makes it 5 feet?
If that.
So I was doing the math again, and I'm like, but you guys are so different in height. I said, that's crazy, but that's your sister, right? And so we started gabbing about St. Peter's School. And I said, but did your mother like hang out with the mailman or something? And you exclaimed to me
that we were both adopted. We didn't come from the same mother or father. About a year and a half apart.
Wow. So that's when our big secret was revealed.
Yep.
The big secret was I'm adopted and you were adopted. And we went all those years, we went all through elementary school, never, ever knew that we were both adopted.
No.
And I think I really could have used you back then, because being adopted from me was almost shameful. Like, it's not as hip as it is now with Angelina Jolie. You know, she's got all these kids. Everybody's adopting kids, Madonna. But back then, it was not
a big secret. It wasn't open like it is today. Those records got sealed and locked away and never to be seen again until 13 years ago.
13
years. The state of Rhode Island changed the law that people that were born within that time frame could now go in and get their original birth certificate if they wanted to. And that's what I did. I would have never done it if my adoptive parents were still alive at the time, and they were both gone. But I would never wanted them to think that I had a big hole in my life that I needed to fill. They were the best,
See,
but they were long gone.
this is just so illuminating for me because I kept it such a secret. I didn't know what adopted meant until I went across the street to a birthday party, and it was Kitty Hurtlocks. I remember her name, and she was having a birthday party, and they said it was her adoptive birthday party, and I went, I'm adopted too. I raised my hand, and everyone looked at me, but they didn't like go, whoa. They all went, oh. And one kid came over to me and said, you know what that means? That means your mother is not your mother, and your father's not your father. Oh my God, I ran out of there and home. I was in tears. I think my mom had to go upstairs and call the local shrink or something like that to figure out what to do. But I was devastated. No one had ever told me. I was 6 years old. I don't know what you did back then.
My mother and father told us from day one. We grew up with it, and I thought everybody was adopted. I said, where else babies come from? You go to the window, you pick one out, take them home.
I had no concept of that. And yet, when I mentioned it, I think I got a little bit bullied when I was a child. Like if someone wanted to pick on me, they'd say something about, well, your mother's not your real mother, or my cousins, they just probably, I think kids are kids, and they just bring up things that make you different. And I don't think it was a mean way to do it, but I just think, oh, you're not, part of the family, really. You're like, so I always felt like an outsider. And I don't even think it was young people as much as it was older people that might have made reference to it, like in secret, like, oh, Mary Ellen isn't really their child,
Yep.
Now
I had it happen. A couple of friends that when we would get in arguments or something, and they'd be like, go find your mother, something to dig.
Oh, they'd say that. Oh, that's so heartbreaking.
Yep.
And it really, and maybe it doesn't seem that much to the kid who said it, but to us, it was like, I always wondered, well, why did my mom ever give me up if I'm so special,
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean go find my mother? She's right in the house.
Yeah. So you had a good experience with adoption.
Yeah, very much so.
So your parents were loving, made you feel?
Very much so. They never missed a basketball game in my entire life. Even when I was 8 years old and not even getting into the game, they would just be there anyway, even if I wasn't playing yet.
And you played basketball high school. You were a big basketball player.
I was
big not only in height, but big in stardom too.
Yep, I was all Rhode Island in 1971.
Isn't that amazing? So you had this wonderful life. Now, please, when I say that, I too had a good life. I mean, I think about it because there are kids who are unadopted and they go through teenage years and they're still in in an adoption home, or if they have those. I was adopted from St. Aloysius Home, which is a home up in Gloucester Foster area.
Yep.
And I thought that I was right out of the chute, right at birth, that I was in my mom's arms, and she brought me home. I found out I was a year old.
Really?
Yeah.
I was right from birth.
Wow, you were.
I don't think probably my birth mother even ever held me, because back then they wanted you to get away from the mother as quick as possible before she possibly changed her mind.
And get attached.
Yep.
I always wanted to be a nun, and now I think back about it. They say ducks make imprints, like they follow the first thing that they find when they're born. And so I was in love with every nun except Sister Mary Ellen, my namesake. She was my only mean one, 3rd grade. But other than that, I could win them over. And I love the nuns, and I love their smell, whatever soap they use. And I love the big rosary beads and just everything about them. And I wanted to be a nun. And I think think about it. As a child, I'm in their arms, and all of a sudden I smell their smell, and that's what I just got attached to. So I said to Sister Regina Marion in 5th grade, I want to be a nun. And she said, come back and see me when you're 18.
Well, it's not too late for you, Ellie.
I know, huh? None of this and none of that. But so you were a child. So you had 2 kids that were adopted in your family. See, my brother was biologically their child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think women and their sons, there's a very big attachment anyway. But I do think, and I never thought about this until I was older looking back, my brother could do no wrong. He went to Hendricken as well. He went to your high school, but he could do no wrong, but he did a lot wrong, and he could do no wrong. I would just like not make my bed right, and I was, grounded for a week or something. Exaggerating, but not really. But so, and I often wonder now, is that because, was a deferential treatment because he was theirs and I was adopted? And so that can kind of screw with the brain too.
Definitely.
Yeah. But
And like you say, the mothers tend to be closer to their sons and
Right.
fathers to their daughters. So
right.
maybe there was a little of that too.
And my father was never around. He was always working, but then I found out later he had another family. So that makes it interesting. So not only was I left once, but I kind of was left twice. But then we were very close before he died. He was only in his 50s when he died. And that's all in my memoir that someday you'll be able to read because there's so much more to that. But so I think that I had a loving home, but I think that I had a loving home, but they were very dysfunctional. So I don't even know if it was anything to do with adoption. I just think if I was their kid, that I might have been a little bit, screwed up anyway because of
the
them.
parents back then were a little cold.
Yeah.
They weren't really lovey-dovey
Right.
with the kids
Right.
at that time,
Interesting. Very interesting. But
especially
adoption.
the Irish.
Oh my God. I think being adopted just fit in with the whole program because talk about secrets. Well, like I just told you, my father, I found out, had never have a heart attack and then have another family because they come to visit at the same time your family comes to visit. It's an interesting
Keep
concept.
that in mind.
Write that down. But so there was a lot of dysfunction, but being adopted. So I just find that, and of course, Mickey McGuire, he certainly liked his cocktails and everything. So there was a lot going on, and I survived, and I'm here to talk to Stevie McGuinness. But tell me about, this is the thing that separates us. So we both have our secrets,
Mm-hmm.
but then you went, so your parents both passed away,
Yep.
and you at that time felt like the loyalty, you kept your loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the same way. I never, ever once thought about going to find my parents.
No.
It
I
was
didn't.
just not and I never used it against them. Now you hear kids go, you know what, Mom, I'm going to go look for my real parents. There's a lot of movies made about that.
Yep.
I never once threatened her with that.
No.
Never once. But you went and found, this is the best story. Tell them what happened.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, 13 years ago, the state of Rhode Island came out with a new law where kids that were born within that certain time period, the previously secret birth records, you could now access them and get your original birth certificate through the state for $20. So I said, I got nothing to lose. If nothing else, maybe I'll get some valuable medical information because all my life going to doctors with medical history was unknown.
May I just interrupt for a minute? That was the worst because once again, you had a very healthy feeling about adoption. I was like, I'm not worthy, and I felt shame. So I'd go to the doctors. Well, so do your parents have any disease? How's your parents' heart? Well, my father had the worst heart. So do I tell them that I'm adopted and get through that litany, or do I just let it go? So what would you do?
I would always tell them that it's unknown. I was adopted, so I can't give you my history.
You sound so healthy, Steve.
I'm doing pretty good.
So anyway, you
far.
got your health records, so that's one of the reasons.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and once I got the original birth certificate, it showed that my mother was 20 when she had me, and I was 60 at the time. And I said, there's an outside possibility that she could still be alive. She would be 80.
Yeah.
And
Which is
who knows?
young nowadays.
Maybe live to 100, and I'd have a chance to have a few years with her.
Right.
But unfortunately, she didn't make it to that point. She had died about 8 years prior to my search. But in the process, I found out that she had gone on and married and had 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls, who were all within 5 miles of me my whole life.
So you have 6, what would they be? Half brothers and sisters?
Yep. Yeah.
See, now that scares me because it could go either way. And coming from a dysfunctional family, do you stay or do you go? I mean, do I look it up? And find out that they're all like, hey, Ellie, don't mind me, but there's aliens in the backyard that I have to go tend to. And I'd be like, oh, crap. And I made this,
Well, you never know what you're going to get when you go
Right.
looking, so you have to be prepared because you don't know if you're going to get the door slammed in your face or whether it was a secret she could have taken to the grave. Maybe she never even told her kids. Maybe she never even told her husband because it was a big taboo back then.
right.
And
Well,
the
can
father wasn't listed on the birth certificate, which was not unusual for those circumstances. And
I don't even know if I have a birth certificate. I have to go around and look. I found everybody else's, but I found my grandfather's, my adopted grandfather's birth certificate from like 1896 or something like that.
Mhm.
But I don't know. That's very interesting. And you know what else, Stevie? Whenever I talk to my mom about it, she'd always have an excuse why she couldn't talk about it right now. But the one thing she did say, oh, she was much older, which kind of doesn't make sense, but she never wanted me to know. And I think it was because if I knew, I'd be curious and want to find them, and then I'd leave her. I really
Maybe.
thought she had some abandonment issues too. So if it was secret, I could never, it's like teaching a person to read. Well, they can read now, they can go rule the world. And some people don't want you to rule the world. So it was a very interesting time for me. So
No.
you went and you found 6 brothers and sisters.
yeah, I went through.
That's crazy.
I went to the Providence Public Library and did some research, and I didn't know where to start, but I went back in the archives. If she was 20 when she had me in 1953, I went back to the census of 1933 to see if I could figure out who she was born of, her parents' names. And then if I could find the parents' names, which I did, then I was able to go into the obituaries and
My favorite part of the paper, the
and search-
obituaries.
yeah, that's the Irish sports section.
The Irish sports section.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. That's wonderful.
They
But you
so-
do get the woman's name. They have it in parentheses.
Yeah, that's what I did. I found her mother and father's both obituaries, thinking that by that time she probably, in all probability, had gone on to marry, and she would be listed under her marriage name. So she was a Camella in Cranston, which there's only about 10,000 Camellas in Cranston. So
Wait a minute. She was from Cranston, and that you could throw a rock from here to Cranston.
yep,
She was that close to you?
yep.
Holy moly. So you went to the obituaries, you
Yep.
found out her maiden name,
Her
And-
married name.
you found out her married, but how did you start in the first place? You had no clue, did you? Oh, you got the records.
Yeah, just to find out who she was born of, and because under her maiden name, and who her parents would have been back when
okay.
she was born in 1933.
So the file, the secret file, I always thought it's like limbo, the lock and key that you just couldn't find. But now that they opened the file, it would have been her maiden name. Is that what you're saying?
The maiden name on the birth certificate, yep.
And then she got married. But did she marry the gentleman that's your father?
No. From what I understand, it was like kind of a one-night stand type of thing. It was somebody that she really wasn't involved with, and which was a big taboo back in the day.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
But also in the obituary, it also stated that she had 2 brothers, one of which was in New York City and the other one in Charlestown, Rhode Island.
Huh.
So I just went on the phone, 411, asked for my Uncle Bud.
For those listening who might be younger than 100, 411 is what you did. Or you had a phone directory, this big fat book that you looked the names under. And you called him, and what was his name?
His name was Bud, Uncle Bud.
Uncle Bud.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. So.
And how was he when you called?
Well, I called him up and I said, by any chance, do you or did you have a sister by the name of Lois that gave birth to a baby boy on May 9th, 1953? And I think at first he was thinking he was getting a prank call. I gave him as much little information as I could off the birth certificate, and he finally got to the point where he said, "You've got the right family."
So he knew.
Yeah. Yeah, they were very close. He used to, I was born in the Sophia Little home in Cranston, which was a home for unwed mothers.
Wow.
And he would come and get her. They only had one car in the family, and he would come and get her on Sundays and take her out for a ride. They were like a year apart. And
So she had to live at the Sophia home
yeah,
the whole pregnancy?
yeah, at least probably the last trimester
Right,
anyway.
when she was showing.
Um,
Wow.
but he was the one that told me that she had gone on to marry and had 3 boys and 3 girls. And I asked him, I said, "Do they have any knowledge of me?" And he says, "The girls do. The 3 girls are the oldest." And he took down all my information, my phone number, and he says, "I'll get back to you in a couple of hours." And he did. And he said, "Your sisters can't wait to meet you." Which you,
Oh, that makes me so happy and sad at the same time. That's so wonderful.
yeah, because like I say, you don't know what you're going to get.
That's
They-
it. It's like, let's make a deal. Do you pick
Yeah.
door number 1 or 2?
You got to be prepared that it may not go smoothly, but gave it a shot and it was well worth it.
Wow.
So I got to meet them, and they've taken me in like I was there the whole time. One of the brothers passed away before I got to meet him, but and the kids said that's Mom wanted there to be 6 of you, so that's why she brought you back into the picture.
Oh my God, you're making me cry. My makeup's going all over. Wow. Oh my God, that is just so beautiful.
So, and when we were growing up as kids, I don't know why, but my sister and I, adopted sister, always kind of had thought of ourselves as being an only child from where we came from.
Right.
So to find out at 60 years old that I was the oldest of 7, which is not a role I ever even pictured myself in. So it's been a gift.
Oh my God. And they grew up not far from you.
Hmm.
Gosh. I mean, clearly you're emotional talking about it.
Yeah, it's still. They all went to Cranston East, and I was at Hendricken, so we weren't far apart.
Wow. That's just folks for you, like I said, living anywhere other than Rhode Island. That's just a couple of miles down the road, and your whole real or biological family lived there, and you were right here. And who
Yeah.
knows? Now, I have a story to tell you that I don't know if I ever shared with you. I also have a cozy little apartment in New York City, and so I get the benefit of the big city and the suburbs. And when I was visiting my folks who were still living here in my childhood home, they were getting up there in age, but they would get the Providence Journal, which is the paper in Rhode Island. And I found this article, I think in the front page of maybe the leisure section or the second section. And it was all about how this guy went back to find his family. And it was all, first of all, I found out that they unlocked the door of the files so you could go and be open about who was your parents, your birth parents, if you were adopted. That was like, boom. And then second of all was this guy did it. And I cut out the newspaper, which is what my mother used to do. I still have scraps of newspaper all around. It's old school. But I cut out the paper and I put it next to my bed, in the drawer next to my bed. And I thought, someday this could be me. And I went and I told you, I went back to that story and your name was on it. I don't know how I missed it, but that was your article.
It was.
They did this story on you and I kept it. So here we are. He's holding up for those of you who are listening. Maybe put it up a little bit there. Yeah. For those of you who are listening, he's holding up an article. What was the date of that?
Let's see here.
Oh, his glasses. For those of you listening, he's putting on his glasses. We're at that age.
May 5th, 2013. It was on the front page of the Providence Sunday Journal. Somehow or other, this reporter, Bob Kerr, got a hold of the story. I don't know how, and he called me up and wanted to know if he wanted to do a story basically highlighting this new law that was now into effect, using us as an example of the good that can possibly come of it.
And there are two women in the picture, and who are they?
Those are two of my three sisters. And my mother's picture is in there too.
Your mother,
my birth mother.
So you know what she looks like. Oh, they have pictures? Of course they would.
Yeah.
This is just so revealing and so exciting and so scary for me because before I knew that was really you, because maybe I was just skimming, I was here and I was going to be going back to New York. I have no clue. It's my excuse. But I didn't focus in on the name, but I focused in on that story. And I was like, you were an inspiration to me. And I thought maybe someday, but I was at the stage where my mother, my original father, had died. And so I had my stepdad, Eddie, here too. And so I wasn't about to go and do that with them here because, once again, no matter if I could strangle my mother, which probably occurred every other day, mothers and daughters, but I was never, ever, she was loyal to me. She gave me a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
I say she because I'm sure she was instrumental. I think my grandfather, when I look back now, someone told me he was a big benefactor to St. Aloysius' home. Plus, it was full of nuns. I mean, I often wonder, maybe I go to every St. Patrick's Day party, but maybe I'm Jewish. Maybe I'm Portuguese. I do not know. I think I kind of look Irish, but I think that it would probably, in those days, they would probably want to match you to your religion or your culture, maybe. Do you know if you...
I was glad to find out that I am indeed Irish because I'd been living the dream for 60 years. My siblings are half Irish and half Italian. Their father was Italian. I don't know what my father was. I just know my mother was 100% Irish.
Wow. So you have no clue about your dad?
A couple of years back, my sister Kim, that works at a restaurant in Cranston, I go in and visit her quite often.
This is your...
my birth sister.
Yeah, obviously.
She said, I found out who your father is. Yeah. And I says, all right, thrill me. He says, he was a judge. He was a very prominent lawyer. And at that point, he's still practicing law. He's 91 years old. So naturally, everybody says, you got to go and meet him. Yeah, he was still practicing law at 91.
Oh my God. And he was a judge?
Yep.
Did he know you existed? So did you ever go see him?
I don't know. I didn't, there's only so much fulfillment one person can have in their life. I was just getting used to the mother situation. And I says, do I want to repeat this whole situation looking for dear old dad? But then I thought maybe he's a multimillionaire and he'll leave me a little something.
See, that's my dream, is that I think maybe, who knows? Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe Jackie Kennedy was my mom. Who knows who was my mom?
Yeah. And like I say, I don't know what the nature of their relationship was, but
did you get the last name?
He may not have. Yeah.
Oh, so you know the last name.
Yep.
And he could have had another family too, a whole family.
Yeah, he did, because one of my good friends that's a lawyer went to law school with his son.
So you really, oh my God. I mean, it just keeps getting better and better. So you have 6 from the mother's side, 6 brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters. You could have a whole nother family on the father's side.
Possibly.
Holy moly. And they're all lawyers. So, when you need your will done or whatever, you could have. But, oh my God. One thing I found.
My Christmas list and my obituary is getting longer by the day.
So that's just crazy. You know what I found out when my mother did pass away and I'm reading the will? There was somebody left out of the will, and I won't go into it to violate anybody's situation, but I found out that there was a couple of maybe kids from someplace else that maybe was my brothers, and I think that person was listed or not. And I found out that when you're adopted and your biological parents died, you are allowed, or you are supposed to be as much a part of the family that grew up with this person as if you were there as a part of the family. So you are not excluded. You are, by law, you're part of that family, even though you didn't maybe spend your life with them.
Yeah, I had a great group of cousins growing up all my life, and I was a little nervous how they were going to react to it, whether they were going to think, well, he doesn't need us anymore now that he's found his real family. But that wasn't the case at all. they were nothing but happy for Jeannie and myself that
Well,
we had.
they were
And by
regular,
the way, I didn't mention, once I did that routine to find my parents, my
right?
sister Jeannie, that's been down in Florida for 30 years, said, okay, big shot. She says, now that you found yours, go find mine. I repeated the whole same
Whoa.
process of going back into the archives and the death notices and all that. And I found her family, and it turns out she was the oldest of 6. And they're all still in Rhode Island, and they've
My
they've
God,
taken her in like she's been there the whole time. So,
the
you know,
McGuinnesses keep growing and growing and growing.
instead
So
of it
she's
just being
got,
she and I, there were 13 kids between the two of us.
and you don't know about the judge.
Yeah, I don't know about the judge.
Holy moly. Now, you think that I have you as my guest because you're delightful, you're adorable, you're everything and more, but I have an ulterior motive. There might be someday that I get the brave, I think it is a brave thing what you did. I really think that's very brave. And I get to maybe have you as my coach if I wanted to find my family.
Absolutely.
Do you think at my tender age that I should do something like that?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, it'd be interesting to hear from other people. You can go to elliemaguire.com or shakingthebushes.com to write me a letter and tell me what you think, because I don't know. I mean, I wonder how many adopted, we're 50s babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though I know we look like, 70s babies.
Oh,
but
yeah.
of course, but being in the 50s, there was a big difference. And so, like we talked about, everything was secret, everything was locked up. But to go and unlock that Pandora's box. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. You know what I enjoy? My dog's poops. They are perfection. And you know why? Because they eat really healthy, nutritious food. They eat Darwin's natural pet products. And guess what? It comes frozen in little patties. They ship it right to your door, so it's real easy. And my dogs love it. And guess what? They're seniors, but you'd never know it. They act like little puppies. So remember, Darwin's natural pet products. Okay, so I have a story for you. And it's a little bit of a humble brag, but you may remember that my forever fiance, piano man Ron Trotter, who you are good friends with, he and I got invited on a huge yacht in Greece by the former president, George Herbert Walker Bush, and his wife, Barbara Bush. And so I'm setting the scene for one day in between when people left the boat and came on, a new group came on. We were with them for the day. I don't know, Ron was off playing bridge with someone, and I got to go to the beach with them on a Greek beach, deserted island, with George, Barbara, and the Secret Service. I mean, how crazy is that? So I'm sitting on one little towel, just like you would do in Narragansett Beach, but I'm with the former president and first lady, and I'm sitting there. Barbara's on my left and George is on my right. And Barbara looked at me and said, Ellie, I want to adopt you. And I took a big gulp and I thought, do I tell them or don't I tell them? I was stunned, and I think it was a form of showing her affection, I'd like to think. And I went, well, Bar, she liked to be called Bar. I am adopted, by the way. And she went, you are? And then they just asked me all these questions like, are you, do you know who your birth parents were? They just kept. And then George and Barbara, I'm in the middle and they're leaning forward, looking at each other going, they started arguing about it because President George said, well, I think, Ellie, that you're going to be opening up a Pandora's box if you decided to go find your birth parents, and you don't know what's in there, and you can never close that box. This is the president. He goes, I passed a bill about adoption, and I guess it was a good one. Maybe he unlocked the files. Maybe he was one of the guys that did it. I don't know. But he was adamant that I should never go look at my birth parents. And Barr was like, well, I don't know, George. And they were starting to get into it a little. It was kind of cute. But I think he's right. It's a Pandora's box. And you opened it up and you won the car on Let's Make a Deal. I would open it up and there'd be a mound of dirt and a vacuum cleaner. So I don't know. That mystery scares me. Plus, I know that my family was full of dysfunctional, and I've dated dysfunctional guys. Not that I'm relating to Piano Man Ron Trotter, of course, but I just don't know if at my age I want that, surprise and that, they could be all kooky.
There's always that chance.
It is. That just kills me. But they could be, a Vanderbilt darling, or they could be, a basketball player or an artiste, or they could be. But even if they worked at Walmart and they were nice, that would be okay too.
Yep.
So your mom passed away, your biological mom.
Yeah, she died pretty young. She died in '74, so she died the day Nixon resigned.
Aww.
And she was only 56 at the time.
Wow, that's young. That's how old my father was. No, he was 57.
And my dad lasted till 92, not aged 92, but 1992.
Wow.
So he was around for 20 years after my mother passed.
Oh, and then you think to yourself, man, if I'd done it sooner, but you never know. So I wonder if, like, here you are living in the next town over. Who knows? Maybe you passed them in a car. Or maybe there was a time when you never knew that you met them, and you wouldn't know that they were who they were.
Well, I have one story regarding that. I think I told you this, but back in the day when I was really young, before the malls, the big thing for us at Christmas time was the outlet company, which was the department store in downtown Providence.
Big deal.
And
Big deal.
That was our version of Macy's. And we would go there at Christmas time. That's where we would go to see Santa. And inside the outlet company, they had a Christmas tree. It was a talking Christmas tree. And I found out that my mother was actually inside the tree. She was the voice of the talking Christmas tree, my birth mother. And I remember talking to that tree and not having any idea that she was in there, or her having any idea that she was talking to her son that she had given up.
Oh my God, I've got chills. So in a way, you talked to your mother without knowing it.
Yep.
That is the most beautiful story. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, I don't know. I'm going to think about it, but I think that you are my key to unlocking the door for me. But now things have changed. I mean, you did this how many, like maybe 15 years ago or however. Mm-hmm. Now they have, 3andMe, all these DNA tests. I know somebody who did that and found out he's got like 30 siblings because his father was a sperm donor. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. That would blow my mind. So, but how would you go about it today? Would you do it the same way?
I would probably, Ancestry.com or something. I'm sure there's something a lot easier way of doing it than traipsing down to the Providence Public Library and sitting there all day.
That's true. The Dewey Decimal System is no longer. But here's the thing. Ron did give me for Christmas, I think it was post-pandemic when Ron was very sick and almost died and then lived because I saved his life, basically. Brag. But anyway, nice. He gave me this gift. And it was 23andMe, and I went like this. And for those of you listening, I smiled and went, oh, thank you. You're so sweet. And I went in my bedroom, and I almost started crying. And I put it in the closet, and guess what, Steve? It's still sitting there to this very day. I just couldn't do it. Could not do it. That opens up a whole can of worms.
Like George H.W. said, possibly.
Pandora's box.
Possibly.
Pandora's box. All right. So besides seeing you at a Rocks, and we do have a date, there's another thing. I guess the moral of the story is don't wait when you want to do something, because you may remember back a couple of years ago, you were the driver to come and pick up my friend Loretta Swit of the MASH fame. Mm-hmm. And ended up that Jamie Farr, we were going to go to dinner with Loretta, who lives across the street from me in New York, and Jamie Farr were in town for, Comic-Con or something like that.
Yep.
And so Ron and I were going to go, and it was her birthday, I remember, too.
85th.
It was her 85th birthday, and we were going to go to the Old Canteen restaurant, which was right up the street from where the convention center was. And you were designated driver because you had a nice big car and all that. We thought that'd be great. Well, when Jamie Farr wasn't feeling well, guess who stepped in as her date?
I got promoted.
Stevie McGuinness. And you sat next to her the whole time, and you two looked like you had known each other for years. It was a lot of fun.
I love that picture that we took that night. I like to show it off, but I have to keep in mind that not to show it to anybody that's younger than 40 because that's how long MASH has been off the air.
But
nobody knows who she was.
You know, it's funny you should say that. I'd walk through the streets. We both had Yorkshire Terrier dogs. We met at a party, and she ended up moving across the street because she, I guess, liked Ron and I so much that she wanted to be near us. But there was an apartment across the street that I told her about, and she moved in. But the bottom line was we used to have so much fun together, but we would walk down the street, or we would walk, or go to restaurants. We'd go to shows together, and people would always recognize her. So I think there's a resurgence. I think they do the reruns. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was such a huge hit back then. And do you know a little tidbit? I had to tell her that Alan Alda lived on the corner, like kitty corner from us. So I had two MASH people on the same street. But you were going to come visit, and we were all going to go out and giggle and be silly. And it didn't happen because life goes on. And here we are. She passed away. But we have good memories of her. And it would be, I think the point is that maybe I'm talking myself into the fact that don't wait. You don't know what's behind door number 1. So I think maybe I might be ready, Steve, to find my
Let's do it.
birth parents. Okay. Well, it's just been a pleasure to have you at the kitchen table of my childhood home on the Shaking the Bushes podcast. I can only dream things like this. You are such a sweetheart. I mean, I love that you are part of my history and that we are just such good buddies. We came full, it's like the Lion King. The circle of life. We came back to the starting point.
Yep.
And it's like we kind of never,
Yep. I'm glad you had me, and I've had fun with this, really.
Yeah. Well, it's just terrific, and I can't wait to have you on again. Would you come back? You know what? That's it. My podcast. So we're going to go do the work. You're going to help me find my birth parents, and then would you come on again and we'll talk about that? Because absolutely. I might be crying. Oh, maybe the big reveal. I don't know. I am just beside myself thinking about this. I'm scared. I'm happy. I'm scared. I'm happy. No matter what, will you come back and we'll talk about this?
Absolutely.
You'll be my therapist?
I will.
Okay. Stephen McGuinness, I love you. You're the best.
Thanks, Ellie.
Psst. Hey, thanks for watching the Shaking the Bushes podcast. And if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and see that little bell there? You can click on that, and that will notify you for the next episode of Shaking the Bushes. Okay, I gotta go. And we never had this conversation.